Hello, and welcome to the Dr. Arnessa Show. I am so glad you took time out to spend a little time with me today. I have a special treat for you. But first, I want to say thank you for all the birthday wishes, calls, texts, gifts, cash out. Oh, you know what? I am just so thankful. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know what's going on with Cash App, but right after all that money was sent, my Cash App closed my account.
What?
I don't know what's going on. I've had two accounts with Cash App, and they've closed both of them. So now I just deal with I think it's the Zeo, and it's another one that starts with a V.
Venmo. Venmo.
Yeah, those are the two that I'm going to use from this point on because Cash App does not like me for some reason. But I have a very special person that I want to introduce to you today. Her name is Amaris Harris. She
Yay!
is multi-talented. She can sing, she can act, she can dance, she can write. She does poetry. She acts out the dramatizations of the poetry. And I have been knowing this young lady her entire life. And from the time that she was a little girl and could talk, we knew that great things would be ahead of her because she's been gifted and talented all her life. So welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you so much, Auntie. I appreciate you for having me.
I'm so glad you are here, and I just want you to know now that I am so proud of you, all the things you've done, and we're going to talk about your background, but let us have an idea of, I know you have been acting, and I mean, this young lady has been acting all her life, but when did you know that this was what you wanted to do?
I knew that I wanted to be a full-time actor, or at least act, period, when I was in the 9th grade at North Little Rock High School in Arkansas. Woo-woo, Arkansas. I was in the auditorium when they were rehearsing the fall production of Alice in Wonderland. And I just had like the idea that I liked what I saw. And I was like, I want to do that. I can do that. And not like, oh, I can do that too. Like that's easy, but more like I feel like that's my calling. Like she's in costume, she's performing, there's a beautiful set. I'm like, this is a whole illusion and I want to play. I want to play.
So, what was your first play that you did in North Little Rock?
I did High School Musical. We're all in this together. One feet now, we're all stars. We did that. And yeah. High school, North Little Rock. Shout out to Mrs. Pitts, my dance teacher. We love you. And when I did that production, I was like skater number 3. Yeah. I was like skater number 3. And we were dancing and I didn't have like a major role, but I felt the camaraderie and I felt the excitement of being on stage and the energy of the audience. And yeah, from there I've just kind of been hooked. That's what I love to do.
I can remember going to a lot of your plays, your dramatizations, singing, you name it. But I mean, I always knew that you were going to end up acting because I remember back in the day when I used to take you to the Arkansas Art Center to those plays.
Yes.
You, your brother, and Henry. And it got to a point where, of course, the guys, they didn't want to go anymore, but you and I kept going. So I knew that eventually that would rub off on you, that acting bug.
Yeah. And I believe exposure at an early age does help to cultivate the love for the arts.
Yes,
You think about it, most everything that anyone enjoys has some level of creativity or artistry to it. Whether you're
Yes.
watching TV or if you are listening to music, everything that we love has some level of art to it. So I was always going to be an artist, even if I wasn't an actor. Dance was my first love. So it was going to be one of them. It was going to be in
Or a
that realm.
mixture, huh?
Yeah. And that's what it is. I am a quadruple threat. And
You are.
thank you.
So when you decided, okay, if I'm going to be this actor, or what do you call yourself, an actor or actress? I've heard
I
it both
say,
ways.
yeah. So it's funny because my background with that is I would always say actor, like even on a professional standpoint. We say actress because like hostess or waitress, it's with the idea that you are feminine. It's a feminine energy. However, I guarantee you, if I ever booked a role where I played a man, I could play me a man. I think about like Whoopi Goldberg, for example. She's a great actor when it comes to honing the feminine energy and the masculine energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that because it shows that she's well-rounded. And that's what I'm striving for. You already know I'm a woman. You can look at me and tell just that I'm a woman. But what energy can I bring on stage or in front of the camera that's different than everyone else? So I usually just say artist because for me, that's all encompassing.
Okay, I
Yeah.
like
So
that.
even on my Instagram, it says artist because even though most people probably know me as an actor, like you said, I do poetry, I sing, I dance. So I am an artist in and of itself. That is me. I am art. I'm living art. That's what I am.
Well, that's for sure.
You're right.
So now you knew that if you were going to be this artist, that you would have to leave Arkansas.
Yeah.
So going from Arkansas, the city that you were in, North Little Rock, Little Rock, is kind of our metropolitan area in
Absolutely.
central Arkansas.
Yes.
But to go from Arkansas to Chicago,
Yeah.
what was the culture shock
Oh,
that you found?
yes. Culture shock is a great word because I went from having open skies, seeing the stars at night, and now it's loud. I mean, I hear motorcycles, I hear dogs. I mean, I go downtown, and the only time I can see the sky is if it's just dark enough and most of the lights are turned out, which is it kind of reminds me of like the city that never sleeps. It really does feel like that. And coming from Arkansas where, we got curfews and stuff and some things close early and then I go to Chicago, like, wait a minute. I even tried to, I had to buy some liqueur for the play that I'm in. And whenever I got down, I tried to go on a Sunday. I was like, oh, dang, that's right. I can't get no liquor on no Sunday. But if I was in Chicago, I can get some liquor on Sunday. But and look at me talking about alcohol, like that's the culture shock. But Chicago has such a plethora of art and restaurants and culture. I mean, it's a culture shock in the fact that I'm a country girl by heart. I'm a Southern belle by heart. That is my identity, and I love that about myself. But I'm a small town girl living in a big city, and like where I live, I'm comfortable. I feel safe. It's different because it's so dense. It's so dense, and I tell my mom all the time. I'm like, Mom, like 2 miles in Chicago might take 10 to 15 minutes, just depending upon where you're trying to go. 2 miles in Arkansas is going to take you 2 minutes. So I had to adjust to, I guess, that sort of thing. But Chicago has opened up my mind, has broadened my horizons. I mean, I feel stronger as an actor. I feel stronger as a woman, as a human being, having moved to Chicago. And I believe everyone needs to move out of their home state at least once.
Oh, yeah.
at least once, because if you think about it, you're gonna live in one spot majority of your life. So
Or go
why
away
not
to
explore?
college. I think
Right.
every young person should leave their parents' house and go away to college, if not
Yeah.
just for a year,
Yeah.
because sometimes you have to get away to really develop and grow for yourself.
Oh yeah, and I definitely did that. I was able to kind of immerse myself in the acting industry and the acting community, which is very tight knit. I mean, it's interesting because sometimes with my actor girlfriends, I'm like, oh, you know so and so. She's like, no, I don't know her. And I'm like, oh, but you, but how do I know y'all? How do I know you and you over here? But I go to other functions or I talk to other people. Like we do workshops sometimes. And you're like, I didn't know that you knew so and so, and it makes you feel like, wow, like we really are connected, because you feel like I've already built a reputation or a connection with, like for example, one of my acting coaches, Harold Dennis. Shout out to Harold. Harold is awesome. I worked with Harold in his workshops, and then when I went to Second City earlier this year, he was teaching and acting for the film.
Which
Acting
is
for,
that's a big deal. I mean, I
yes.
know some adults that are older, and they were trying to get into Second City. So
Oh
when
my
you
God.
said that, I'm like, oh, that's really a big deal.
Yeah. Yes. And it's interesting because when I went to the class, I learned a lot, but I met so many people that I didn't know. But when I went to like his workshops, I'm finding out, oh my gosh, like, you know Harold, like, or you know this person, and it makes me feel like I'm in the right space, I'm in the right place, because we all are trying to succeed, and there's enough room at the table for all of us, and we all want to see each other succeed. I always say that when one of us wins, we all win. So
It was like a
yeah,
divine connection.
it
When
really is.
when you meet people that you don't try to meet, but just God works stuff out where you just meet
Yeah,
them and they like you and they
yeah,
invite you into their world. That's a divine connection. Because sometimes people ask you, "Well, how did you get to meet them?" You're
yeah.
like, you have no idea. It's just
I
it just
don't even.
happened.
I don't even. It was. Oh my gosh, I can't talk about that because I signed a contract. But uh, like for example, one of my girlfriends, one of my actor friends that I'm working with, and she is bomb. We have the same. We have both of the same agents. She invited me on a project of hers, but the year before we were on set together, and I didn't realize it until after the fact. When I was leading, or the female lead in a short film that I did called Chicago Guy, which has gone to Black Harvest Film Festival. Shout out to Shahari, we love you. Give everyone shouts out. She was on that set, and then it's funny because when I went back and I looked at my reel that I got from my performance, I was like, I paused it. I was like, there she go right there. I'm like, and then now it's coming full circle. We're working together on another project. Wow. And that's how we know that this is bigger than us.
Oh yeah.
And this is so much bigger than us, because I feel strongly now, especially in a pandemic, especially just as a young Black person, a young Black artist, I feel such a great responsibility to do the art, to do the work, but to make it mean something and to serve a purpose.
Yes.
Um, and that's all I want to do. I only want to work with people who want to serve and who want to live in purpose, on purpose. And I feel like you used to say that a lot of times on Auntie Nessa. Like you used to say, what did you say? Be blessed and live your dreams. But it's you're living, if you're blessed and you're living your dreams, that's anointing. And
Yes.
I want to work with people who have that anointing, who are aware of it, and who walk in it.
You said something a few minutes ago about you have two agents.
Yeah.
So I know there's not like an acting school that you've attended where it tells you, okay, if you want to be a artist, you have to
Mhm.
do A, B, C, and D.
Right.
Then E, F, G, Did
Mhm.
you have that, or how did you find out about getting an agent? How do you get an agent?
That's a great question. Um, it's such a great question because okay, well, I'm gonna speak to my experience. So I have two
Mhm.
agents. I'm with Hayes Talent Agency, which is Black owned, and then I'm with Page Model and Talent. And I first got with Paige because a couple years ago she put out a open casting call where it was just a cattle call looking for new talent because that's what agents do. They're always looking for new talent to promote and to market to their clients. So you have to be marketable and you have to be profitable. Anyway, she was holding a casting call at a big hotel up north in Rosemont. And I went, I had my headshot, I had my resume, I looked nice. I was nervous.
I can't believe
And
you was nervous.
I know, I can't believe me of all people. I was nervous, but I had to wait a little while. It was kind of a wait, which happens, we're used to that as actors. We
Hmm.
know there's a lot of waiting before you get seen, trust me.
Yeah.
But whenever I walked into the room and I spoke with her, I was just my friendly, personable self. And first thing she did was she looked at my headshot. She said, "Oh, Jen Stanko." I said, "Yeah, you know my photographer? Like, for real?" Like,
You're
and
like,
it's,
thank
I
you.
know, but I felt in that moment, I was like, okay, I did something good. And
Yeah.
I did the research myself to find out what works for Chicago. And that
Yeah.
headshot helped me book my national commercial. That headshot has helped me book several roles since then. Um, and I was when I moved here, like I said, I immersed myself in the culture. So I started following casting companies. I started following casting directors, and I started following. I was in groups where I knew that we could exchange knowledge because it's not just about what you know, it's who you know sometimes. So
Oh, most of the time.
I know you know about that. You have a lot of experience with you and your connections and being able to just blossom in a room full of people. That is not to be taken lightly because that
Mm-mm.
is a whole skill set.
Yes.
So whenever I walked in and I was just myself with Paige, it made her like me enough to put me on her roster. And I'm very grateful to Paige because she has sent me several auditions in the past few weeks. And I mean big stuff too. And it's not like I don't think I deserve it, but now I'm getting to a place where I can tell from my own work that now I'm being put in rooms that require even more work. But
Yeah.
because I'm showing God that I can handle where I am, God's going to take me even further.
Right.
So the next year, I ended up going to another open casting call for Hayes Talent. And that was at a church. When I auditioned, I auditioned for, I just so happened to be in the room with actors that I already knew. And I was like, oh, okay, so I get to act in front of people I know, which is kind of good. But at the same time, it's like, if you mess up, it's kind of,
They'll
you know,
remember.
because they're rooting for you, right? They want you to do good, but it's also like, okay, I've seen what she can do. So if she doesn't perform, that was a fluke, and I don't want to be a fluke at
Mm-hmm.
all.
Mm-hmm.
But I did great. Even when someone was knocking on the door, I still kept going. They're like, oh, she knows how to hold character. Okay. And so I found out that I was added to that roster. And I'm grateful for Michelle too, because she works hard. Michelle has the only Black owned Black owned talent agency that has a trifecta. She's in LA, she's in Chicago, and she's also in Atlanta. So
That's great.
yes, she has celebrity clients like Drew Sidora, who just got on Real Housewives of Atlanta. And some of our favorites that we just see all the time in movies, and you're like, I didn't know you were with Hayes. And it's like someone is marketing that person. You think they're doing it
Uh-huh.
all by themselves? No. But how you get an agent is you gotta do research, and you have to. I mean, sometimes I look at social media and I tell myself, if you start to think of it as a job, it's gonna feel like a job. But if you just remind yourself that this is part of your journey, then you're gonna feel better about doing it. So it was tedious. Gotta have headshots, gotta have a nice resume, having some demo reel clips, you know, something to show them you can take a chance on me and I'm not gonna make a fool out of you. Or you can take a chance on me. Like, I've literally told them both this year, I was like, look, I said, I just got new headshots. I got some more, I've been working, like I've been doing some films where I got some demo footage, some new footage. And I just went to LA in September. I had 2 bookings when I was in LA. And so I was telling them, you know, I'm working hard so I can make us both some money. Because who doesn't want to, like, do good at what they love?
Exactly.
So,
And that's something that I want to say. It's a saying that if you do what you love,
yeah.
you'll never work another day in your life. And that's why your auntie,
Yeah.
now Dr. Arnessa,
Yes.
everything I do, I love. And when it gets to a point when I don't love it anymore, it's time for me to find something else that's gonna excite me and stimulate my mind, because
Right.
that's what I need as a person, because I get bored really easy. So I've realized I'm very creative. So
Yes.
if I'm not using my creativity or my mind, I'm bored. I am bored. Now, you have the 2 agents. Now, do the agents just automatically accept you, or do they have to decide if they want you as a client?
You definitely have to show them that you are worth their time to add as a client. And it's what's interesting, because it's not always, there's not a manual to it, right? Because
Right.
sometimes someone will, you know, say, hey, I'm here, I'm available. They may not have the best headshots, but they still have a marketable look, or they have a special skill that makes them more marketable and profitable, even though they may not have the talent per se, if that makes sense. So I know that, like, for example, when I was in LA and I met some actors there, you know, they're familiar with some of the agencies in Chicago, and they'll say, oh, I love them, or they'll say, oh, they're not my favorite. And it goes to show you that every actor is not going to have the same experience with the same agent. I didn't get my first agent. When I first moved here, I actually went on a go see for an agent, and I didn't book it, but I booked the second one and the third one. So I believe that it kind of is just, like, for example, in Chicago, you know, I come from a theater background, which a lot of film people, they love that, because they're like, oh, she can give us a lot and then we can pull it back. I've had to, because I'm so expressive and my face has a lot of muscles and stuff, so I've had to rein that in. But people have gone to different agencies and they've had their experiences. Well, you know, for me, oh my gosh, it's like,
you've been blessed, for one thing. You have truly been blessed, because when I think of just a short amount of time that you've been in Chicago and the different opportunities you were telling me about that you were able to experience that people don't even know exist, that's definitely a blessing.
Definitely. Did I answer your question?
I don't know if you
I don't know. I've been going off on a tangent.
Well, I was you answered it, because I asked you, do the Do they just automatically take you if you want
Oh,
a,
no.
and they don't? Okay,
And
so
then some people fit the description for the same role. Like, not that they would be typecast, but you know what a football player looks like. Okay. Or you know what a nerd looks like, you know, and they might already have some people that do really good already on their roster. But
right.
it just kind of depends, especially because we've been in this pandemic this whole time, you know. I can imagine that the role that some of us have been on probably hasn't been as consistent. But also, if some people weren't able to get some bookings, maybe now it's picked up. For example, voiceover acting is extremely, it's happening.
Yeah.
If you think about voiceovers, the people that are on your favorite radio commercial, people who do the training videos.
Yes.
And there's a lot of money to be made. And you don't,
Yes, it is.
and usually they're not even trying to look at your face. They want to hear you.
They want to hear your voice.
Exactly. I've had some castings where they're like, just send us, read this, like for an audition, read this. We want to hear your voice, and if we like you, then we want to see you. Like, dang, y'all want to hear
what kind of dialect? Like, do you want Northern, Southern, Eastern?
Yeah, Jamaican,
Yeah.
Boston, you know. So, yeah.
Well, I've noticed, you know, because I've been knowing you all your life, but I noticed that your persona has changed. And it looks like you have done the work to become that actor or artist that when you walk into a room without you saying a word, you're going to get their attention. I see that.
Oh,
now, back in the day, they had a thing called, it was like, they would work on a talent. It was like talent improvement. And they would work on different things to kind of help their presence. So is there something like that now, or do they just tell you, you know, you need to do this, you need to do this if you want to be taken serious as a artist?
Yeah. Well, you know, Chicago Actor Studio, the Second City Actor Studio, Chicago. I think I'm saying that correctly. There are avenues even beyond Chicago that are for artists' professional and personal development. Now, I went to the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, and I majored in theater, and I'm very grateful for that school because while after I took, you know, the prereqs, and I was actually able to get into the classes that I needed for my degree, I realized that there were things that I was never going to learn away from that school, if that makes sense. I strongly believe, you know, I love YouTube University, and I like Google, and nowadays you can just look up a book on Amazon and you can read it and you can learn technique, but it's different as an artist whenever you actually can apply it in a class setting.
Yes.
So I strongly, I feel for anyone, even if you're not going to go to college, you need to do something that's going to stimulate your mind. You need to go somewhere where you're going to learn another perspective. Like, for me, method acting, I use that all the time. For whatever reason, what helps me get into character is when I am not trying to be in character, and I know the character that I'm playing, but I'm also allowing myself to be interwoven into the character. That makes sense. And I only knew about that from going to college. I'm pretty sure I probably would have learned about it later, but to have the knowledge and the practice in an educational setting is it's paramount. It's second to none. Otherwise, YouTube University, I'm in a couple of Facebook groups where people are constantly sharing knowledge. I'm still learning stuff. I feel like no matter how old you are, you're still gonna be learning. So
Right.
it
Because
just it
I'm
yeah.
61 and I'm still learning, and I'm still
What?
excited about life, and I feel like my 60s is a new beginning for some other different things that I'm going to be doing in life. So as long as you're alive, you need to
Yeah.
be learning some things.
Something. Let me learn. I don't care if you learn one thing new per day. What did you learn? Take it with you.
Right. Because, I mean, the world we live in, just think if I never wanted to be one of those people that wanted to learn about a computer. Years ago, I was at a Urban League banquet, and I can't remember his name, but the guy that was the president of the Urban League, I think it was probably had to be about 25 years ago.
Oh
He
my goodness.
said, if you don't have a computer in your home, you're going to be left out in the dust.
Yes.
He said,
Oh,
because the future is technology.
yes, it is. It,
And honey, I got I think it had to be about 20, because Henry was a little boy. And I said, we are going to get a computer.
mm,
And he is getting ready to turn 39 in January. So it might have been
what?
more than that. Yes.
That's so.
So now I can do Zoom. I can do interviews. I have interviewed people all over the world. I have coached people all over the world in the comfort of my office. And just think about having to learn how to use a computer.
That's true. Oh,
So,
it's interesting that you say that because one of my agents, they sent out a notice to everybody, and they said, "Look, y'all, this pandemic, this COVID stuff, this ain't getting let up no time soon. So y'all needs to go ahead and make them investments. Y'all get that stimulus or whatever, whatever you do, make them investments. I got a selfie ring light. I bought a backdrop. This is an 8x10, but 8.5 by 10 backdrop. Because a lot of times when I have auditions, they'll be like, we need a full body. But the catch is, it has to be landscape, not portrait. I'm like, so you want to see, you want me to, and I'm tall, I'm 5'7", so I have to like zoom out. I have to have the technology to be able to do this. And then I'm now teaching virtual Zumba classes. And even though that's not something that I really just wanted to do because I'm such a hands-on person, I know the value of having this medium to be able to still do fitness, because people don't want to go to the gyms and risk themselves or risk their family. So the easiest way to do it is through Zoom. And like you said, you can talk to anyone internationally. I mean, when I do this play that opens up this Friday, anyone anyone can click that link. I hope Cardi B clicks the link. I hope Beyonce makes the style. I hope somebody looks at this and they say, wow. But it took us, I have learned so much in this process, and I have cried. It has been a growing pain lesson.
wow.
But
Those are the ones you remember.
Man, I'm gonna remember this role. All the stuff that I've had to do, HDMI, adapter, mics. I mean, I have my own prop table. I bought a garment rack for my costumes. I do my own hair and makeup before every performance. I have learned a lot, even just with the platforms that we're using for the performance. It took me getting out of my comfort zone and learning something new. And if you're not willing to do that, you're not willing to be an artist.
That's what I was just going to say. You are investing in yourself.
Yeah.
And if you have all your own stuff like we do, if you want to do a one-woman show,
Yes.
you can do that.
Because
you have everything. You have your video. If you want to sell the one-woman show, I don't know with the contract stuff, you know, but when you have your own stuff, you can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to wait on producer number one or producer number two. You can just do your own thing.
Yeah.
Because I know eventually I will have another talk show, but until then, I'm going to do my own talk show.
I'll do your own.
And I'm having fun. I'm meeting new people, like I said, all over the continent. It's just amazing to me, the people that I'm meeting. We're still getting mail this late at night. But it's okay. Well, I know we're spending a lot of time, but I don't care if this show is an hour. We're gonna get this information out.
Yeah, okay. Fun.
So now I want to talk about some of your experience that you've had. You know, since you are multi-talented, I know it's gonna be different things, but just let the audience know some of the things that you've done.
Okay, so let me start now, and then I'll work my way back.
Okay.
So currently, right now, I am starring as Margy Lemont in Mae West's production Sex. And Sex was written in the 1920s and performed. It is it's very controversial. My role is a leading lady role, which is I am a leading lady. I have leading lady energy. Supporting roles are cool, but I'm meant to be leading. And so this production is changing so much for me, and I think it's also going to change the perspective of sex work as well in this society, especially in this day and age, almost 100 years later, and we're still going through stuff in this patriarchal society. But this opens up at the end of the week through December 19th, and I am so excited about it.
Let me say something. Now, let the people know.
Yes.
That Mae West, if they don't know, because you know you have the millennials that don't know who Mae West was, that she was a real person.
Yes.
And
yes,
she was Caucasian.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they need to know that this African American actor, artist, is the lead in this play.
Yeah. And in this role, my role was played originally by Mae West. And Mae West went to jail several times for this production. I actually made a post about that today. I was able to find different newspaper clippings from the times that she went to jail. And Mae West is like, oh, here we go. Mae West is raunch extraordinaire. She is sex appeal, sexy, and just empowered. And what I noticed is, you know, they tried to censor her work, and no one in the production actually really has sex. I mean, like there's not, I don't know how it was in the 20s, but I mean, we're doing it virtually now, so it's a little bit different. But she was a Caucasian woman who was so liberated in her sexuality, which is seen as, is demonized.
It was demonized and vulgar.
And vulgar.
Back then. Yeah.
It was very vulgar. It still is now. I mean, but Mae West, I watched one of her movies called She Done Him Wrong. It's literally a 1-hour movie. It's old school. And she has so many one-liners in it that just made me say, oh, like,
did she say that?
She's around all these men. And then I remember reading something. She was like, she's only like four and a half.
She was very short.
She was short. So every time you saw her and she had that slow, seductive walk, it's because she was wearing them Chinese platform shoes. You know? That's how she was able to keep her figure, you know. So I feel so empowered to be in this position, because even we have a Black female director, and whenever I submitted to it, it had the context sort of of like the Harlem Renaissance. So
Mm-hmm.
technically it was set in 1920s Montreal, but it's kind of reimagined for a cast that is full of color, and we have beautiful people in this production, y'all.
It's very diverse.
It
I
is.
saw the information on it. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this is very diverse.
Yeah, I have one of my love interests. He lives in Atlanta, and the other one, he is in LA. And then the father of one of my interests, he's in New York. And then the production team, Player Part Seattle, and the King County Sexual Assault Resource Center, they're in Washington. So Player Part is in Seattle, and the other one is in a different city in Washington. But we're all convening because sex work is the oldest profession, and it's not going anywhere. But with this production, what is to be made clear, because it does have heavy subject matter, but what is to be made clear is that we have to get out of the idea of judging one's profession with the idea that is all that they are, that is who they are. Mm-hmm. There are women who do nude photography. There's a market for that, and that's sex work. Women who sell toys, that's sex work, but they're not even naked. They're not exposed. They are just comfortable with the subject matter, and people still have babies. So I imagine it's not going away. So this production, it basically just targets the humanity in these different characters as they navigate through such a tough life. It's gonna be amazing. But this is my current role. But like I was mentioning,
is it gonna be like just a one night only, or is it gonna be several nights?
It's several nights, darling.
Okay.
It's the first 3 weeks in December. We have shows Friday through Sunday.
Okay.
So you'll have plenty of time to see it, darling. Back in September, it took a village, but we all got me out to Los Angeles, and I had a pilot that I did with Rodney Darkchild Jerkins, who is the producer extraordinaire responsible for some of your favorites, from Brandy, from Beyonce, Kirk Franklin. Yeah. And
so how was that experience? Had you been to California before?
I had never been to California. I'd never been to Los Angeles. I've never been to Burbank, Paramount. That was my first time, and it was around my birthday. It was right before my birthday, so that was like a birthday gift to me. And while I was out there, I actually got booked for my first TV role outside of my commercial. It was a true crime reenactment, and I was playing the best friend of a man who had been murdered. And I was the one who found him. So when Clint Lalos was like, okay, so you just found that your friend has been murdered. You heard the shots. You ran outside. So you're just going to run towards them and scream. I was like, oh, okay, I could do that. So I was over there in the cut, getting ready. I was like, okay, when do I got to, using that method acting. And then whenever he said, rolling, action, I ran out there, and they were all like,
you gave a good old holler.
They were like, has she done this before? And then they came over to me. They were like, that was great. You kind of scared. Are you okay? I said, I'm okay. I was like, you do a good job when they got to ask, are you okay? Was that real, or are you just acting? I'm acting. They're like, okay, can you do it again? I was like, of course I can. It's a superpower, So I had two awesome performances when I was in LA in September. This summer, I worked on my first productions with a Nigerian cast and crew, Nigerian producer director.
I love those Nigerian movies on Netflix.
Oh yeah, those are good. And I love that what I did with Daniel Colaggio is that because I've looked at his work outside of what we did together, and he does lifestyle, inspirational work that I feel is, and that's what I'm saying. If you're not to say that we don't need any more rom-coms, or that we don't need any more whatever, but when you're doing something that's meant to change people's perspective or get them thinking, you're doing something more than just art. Like anyone can make a video, anyone can make a film, anyone. But what is the intention behind that film? I only want to do intentful work. Something, I mean, like in Sex by Midwest, I'm playing a prostitute. I'm playing a sex worker, but she is trying to get out, and she's trying to live a better life. And I can only imagine that there are a lot of people who are going to watch this and feel some type of connection. Not that they did sex work, but they're going to see the human in Margy. They're going to see the humanity in Agnes. They're going to see the humanity even in Clara. These are some characters. This is a great play. It just is a really great play. I mean, I love Gloria too. Gloria, she's a voiceover actress. Hi, Gloria. I don't know if she's watching this, but Glow, I was like, she got 35,000 Instagram followers and stuff, and she over here, and I've helped her with her self tapes, and we have rehearsals, and we're so love being around people who love what we do. And I always talk about the camaraderie, but it's real, because I told Boo Thang in Atlanta, I was like, you ain't done with me when this is done. Don't think that you're not going to talk to me again, because when I go to Atlanta, we're probably going to be in the show together. We're probably going to be in the show together, which happens, you think, oh yeah, you're not that far removed. And what's interesting is
not in the world we live in.
Not in the world we live in. Because when I went to LA, the little boy, he's not little, he's like 14, but the young man who played my son, one of my sons, he's a series regular on American, what is that show?
Is it that scary show?
No, not American Horror Story. It's
okay.
It's oops. Hey everybody. It's it's a black show on American. Oh, I forgot. Anyone know what I'm talking about?
Is it singer, dancer?
No, it's like it's.
Is it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix.
Okay, I think I've seen it.
I know
not seen it, but I think I have. It's American.
American.
It's something I can't think of it now.
But when I found out, I was like, and the story that him and his mom told me whenever they moved out to LA, I mean, house foreclosed on, living out of their car. I mean, and you have to really want to do this to expose yourself like that, to be vulnerable like that, I don't know where my next meal is coming from, but I know I'm finna get this acting job. And now he's taking care of his mama.
So that was that his story?
That was his story. I mean,
wow.
not the Netflix show.
Okay.
The fact that he is my son in this pilot, my first time in LA.
Okay.
This little boy, he is light years ahead of his time. And
wow.
And I'm saying to myself, here I am in a room with someone who is a series regular on a Netflix show. Okay. It just goes to show you that you can be in the right place.
Yes.
At the right.
And if you have a good attitude,
exactly,
people will help you. I mean, you don't have to be that perfect all the time, but if somebody like you and they want to help you, you'll be surprised where you end up.
Another interesting thing is one of the men who helped with costumes, his son is Matt Elam. Matt is also a series regular on Fargo.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, like, but your son is in Chicago on this awesome show, and you're in LA doing what you do. And we just started, because he was like, oh yeah, my son he's doing work in Chicago. And he made it seem like it was just like nothing. And not that he's not proud of his son, but he's like, yeah, my son is, and I'm like, wait a minute, I know that show. Like, and I was like, okay, I'm in the room. And I always tell people, it's not about how many roles you book. Because let's be honest, a lot of us that's out here is not trying to book nothing. Y'all, we is trying to be popular. We are so concerned with looking busy versus being productive. And I'm not down with that. Like, don't put me at the table where the popular people sit. I've never been a popular kid. I want to go with people where they actually go eat. That's where I want to be.
Well, I'm glad you said that. How important is it for you to really practice your craft, your articulation? I know you're always working on, you have worked on your weight. You're just doing so good. So being an artist, especially an artist that's an actor, you have to every day work on you because you are the product.
Yeah. I said, I believe in the best actors just are. Not saying that they didn't work to become where they were, but what I've realized in my acting career is when I feel and I'm just in the moment, I'm not even acting. Like yesterday at rehearsal, our director was like, that was awesome. She was like, it was just so great to watch. And when I was rehearsing, I felt the way that I felt because of what I've been going through. So yesterday's performance was a little bit different, even though it was just a rehearsal. But it got me thinking, like, I'm just going to use where I am today. Because when you overthink it and you're like, okay, now I'm going to play this moment. And then I'm going to say this like this over here. And then whenever they come in, I'm going to hold this position. It's like, no. The first thing you need to do is memorize the lines. Get the lines down. I always felt like I want to do a skit where I'm Nia Long. I want to be Nia Long, and I'm just going to be like my daughter's going to come in. Mama, I want to go out with my friends. I'm going to look at her like, you learn them lines yet? You learn them lines. Mama, I want to go out with my friends to the skating rink. You learn them lines first. Learn them lines, girl. I want to learn them lines, and then everything else will follow. And I have my phone for that. But
you don't even look like that anymore.
I don't.
Like, who was that?
I have realized that like when I'm just in the moment, that's when I'm my greatest. That's when I'm at my greatest. And there was something else I wanted to say about that, but I am constantly submitting myself on Actors Access, casting networks. What's the other one? And then there's some more too. But when I have these auditions, they're practice. And for some people, they really might not like self-tapes because we're doing it at home. I get that. We're not actually able to be in front of the casting director, but you still have a great opportunity because now you're exploring your options before you submit your audition. When you have to go to an audition, that's it. But now I can do as many first, because if you're perfectionist like me, you're gonna do it a couple times until you get it right, until you feel strong. But I work on it every day because I'm submitting, I'm reading, going over lines, and I'm here. I really am invested. I am the type that if I had to, I would give up my apartment. I give up my car just so I could have money to go back and forth for auditions and back and forth for projects. I strongly believe by next year I'm going to be a full-time actor at some point.
Well, we will touch and agree that that's going to happen.
Yes.
Because we right now, we are in we're in a open heaven where miraculous and miracles are happening.
Yes.
I mean, in the last, I say the last couple of months, I've had some just miracles happen.
Yeah.
And I know that it's God. It's nothing that I've done, but I'm getting to reap the benefits of it.
That's
So
it.
you just have to put it out there, pray, ask, believe that it's gonna happen. But what you were saying about when you're acting, you have to, like, your lines, but you gotta feel it. And I
Hmm.
think that's where some people, they're just trying to say the words, but you have to put yourself in that make believe person's
Yeah.
mind and body, and whatever it is, you just have to, like, be that. And I
Yeah.
think that's where some people lose it. They in their head, they can't really be it.
They forget to have fun. That's it. And actors are always on the playground. And as long as you keep your inner child in you, then you're fine.
Yes. I can remember, speaking of a child, back when you were a little girl. I mean, I don't even think you were in elementary yet. You might have been about 3 or 4 years old. We were in the car. It was my mom Studs, myself, mother, and you. And so you did something, and I think Mama Stubbs or Mama spanked you on your leg, and you said, "Ah, you hit me."
I remember that.
You said, "I'm gonna tell my mama and my daddy too." And I'm like, we were trying not to laugh. It was like you were an actor back then. I'm like, who tells their grandparents, "You hit me"?
I probably did. I probably did that. Yeah.
Like, who is this little girl? Me and mother, we just looked at each other like, okay. Oh boy, the memories.
Yeah.
Okay, so leaving Arkansas, going to Chicago,
Hmm.
Illinois. What's been the most surprising thing?
I think how Chicago has just welcomed me with open arms.
Oh, okay.
And I know we've talked about this. Sometimes it takes you going away from your hometown for people to really start vibing with you. Excuse
Oh,
me.
yes.
And I've been very fortunate to have met some heavy hitters and some brilliant people that I just want to continue working with. So the love that I got when I gave it out, I got it back. And I was surprised, but at the same time, I know my energy, and I know that as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then I'm going to get that energy right back to me.
Yes.
That's it.
If you were to receive a call that would just blow your mind, it would be the call that you've been waiting for. I want you to act out. How would that call go?
Okay. Hello. Well, yes, this is Amaris Harris. How may I help you? Oh, you do? Your client is Colgate. Got it. Right. And they're looking for their next face, like, and have residuals for how many years? And they're paying me how much per day of filming? Okay. So I'm gonna be their next national face. Yeah, like Flo for that insurance company. Yes, that's me. Okay, well, my people will call your people. Thank you. And honestly, they probably would have called my agent anyway, because if I got Colgate, my agent probably helped me get that, to be honest. But I want my national commercial. I'm trying to be the Black Flo, but not flow, but on my own terms, you know.
Right.
Whether that's for a Colgate commercial, Arm& Hammer,
Well,
Crest,
you have the
whomever,
teeth for it.
insurance, something, and I need to be the lead or the series regular or the co-star on a sitcom. I know my look is very commercial. As much as I am a dramatic actor, my look is very commercial. So even though I want to do the dramatizations and the episodics and the drama films, I know that in order for me to be successful at the gate, which I've been going for a while, but now the way that I'm going, and I have been getting a lot of auditions for bigger roles. So I feel like God is putting me in a position to be in the room where I can make bank versus, okay, now I have this role. I'm gonna have this role. I'm gonna have this role. I would rather get 2 jobs a year and have them be my money makers than me be running around here doing a bunch of little stuff, you know, for what? You know, because I need money. Okay. But I've taken jobs where I didn't make any money because of the experience that I got. Even as an adult, even now in 2020, the things that I've done without having pay, but because I saw the vision.
And sometimes it's about exposure. It's not always about the money. Because I can remember back in the day when I was coaching and consulting, a lot of times people would not have a budget. And so, you know, I would still work with them because, and it was certain things that I would ask for that maybe would not be money, but it would be other things.
Yeah.
And that I use as a seed that I was planting.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna sow into your ground, your organization.
Yeah.
Because I know that it may be years later, it's gonna come back to me.
It's true.
And that's important because you want to give. People think when you give, it's taking something from you, but really when you give, it comes back to you. And sometimes it comes back from people that you really don't know. I've had strangers that have done things for me because they just saw something in me and they wanted to help me.
I had a generous donation last month from a lady who we were Facebook friends, but I didn't know her, and she helped me with my rent. And the story that she told me about how she prays to God to ask him to use her, and she was like, God told me to help you. Me? Like, I was on the floor. I was on the floor. But I have found that as long as you are living in purpose, other people gravitate towards that. And I'm grateful. Thank you, Brittany.
Have your heart. You gotta have your heart right.
That's it.
You gotta be right in your heart. Because I mean, it can be overwhelming sometimes, the goodness that people will give you.
And I will say this, someone that I love, they told me, you don't measure a man by what they have, but what they're willing to give. So I've found that even when people haven't had a lot, the people who came through for me for Los Angeles was like, wow. And it makes me feel like, okay, you know, I'm gonna keep going. I will. Yeah. I was gonna do it anyway, but you believe in me too? Okay, now we going. Cause honey, when I win,
it's an energy.
The whole community is winning, baby. We put money back. We do. What do y'all need? We finna have organizations, nonprofits. We're gonna have buildings. We're gonna have space, rental property, everything that you can think of that's gonna be for us. We're gonna reinvest back into the community.
Yeah. Yeah.
Auntie, I don't want the phone to die.
Okay. Well, for anyone who, I'll put it like this. I want you to leave us with some words of wisdom.
Okay. For
the millennials.
Okay.
Because a lot of people think that the millennials, they don't want you to tell them nothing. They don't want guidance.
True.
But I want you to give the millennials, since you are a millennial, give them some wisdom.
The dream, whatever you want to do, the dream is the process. You are not on this earth to do everything that you are called to do in one day.
I know that's right.
The same day you plant the seed is not the day you pick the fruit.
Amen.
So as long as you remember that this is a journey meant for your good and you stay on that right path, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And keep going. Don't stop, because it gets discouraging. Even this week, it has been tough. And we finna start this play, and I'm doing all this stuff. And I'm like, how am I doing all this? But I'm doing it because I know that this is only for my good. And yeah, I've cried. Yeah, I've screamed. I have been upset. But I know that I'm growing in my journey. And if you're not growing, are you living?
You dead.
You dead.
You did. Look, and that's a wrap.
Thank you, TT, for having me.
Thank you. And make sure that you like, subscribe, and share to this YouTube station. Love you. Be
Love
blessed.
you.